Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Robin here, back again today. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a dedicated video to show you guys 5 money mistakes that I made in my early 20s. So I think this would be a pretty cool video to do to kind of look back at some of the mistakes I made. I know a lot of you guys watch this channel and you can see that I'm doing quite well in regards to the finances and whatnot, but I want you guys to kind of know that this wasn't always the case, and I think we could learn a lot of cool things, if I look back in my past and I do a little bit of storytelling and show you guys some of the mistakes I made, we can kind of dissect them, and I can give you guys some good tips on what you guys can apply to not make the same mistakes I do, but if you are maybe kind of in the same situation I was, how you guys can get out of it. So let's jump inside the video right away and let's get things going. So the first mistake I made in my early 20s, and this is probably one of the bigger mistakes I see people make time and time again, is eating out too much and ordering too much takeout. So this is probably one of the biggest things I see young people do, and I just see people in general, and I think it's even more relevant today than it was when I was younger, because the prices of takeout right now, or even just going and ordering food or getting it delivered to your house, it's absolutely crazy. Prices are insane. Me and my girlfriend went out to dinner the other day. We ended up paying $60 just for both of us to go out and get a burger and fries at a restaurant, and that's not including drinks. So, the cost of takeout and eating out on a regular basis can really add up at the end of the day. Now, there's some simple things you guys can do. So one of the first things you guys can do is go grocery shopping, learn how to buy things and cook things for yourself. Look up some recipes. You can get them on the internet, make big meals and whatnot. But one of the big things and one of the simplest things you could do is, like, for example, instead of going to the coffee shop and getting a coffee every day, you can learn how to make your own coffee. I actually have my own coffee here. Back in the day, every single day when I went to work, I used to go and pick up a coffee on my way to work, sometimes a bagel, sometimes even a sandwich. And that would just be on my way to work, and then I'd probably go and pick up another coffee at some point in time. So you can see, and this is back when I worked and I earned minimum wage. So you can see how this stuff does add up. So doing little things like making your own cup of coffee, before you go to work, making your own meals, packing lunch ahead of time can definitely save you a lot of money. And remember, guys, it's okay to order food out once in a while. Like, I'm a big pizza fan. I like to order my pizzas and whatnot, big pizza guy. But this is, more reserved for special occasions instead of being something I do every other day just because I'm too lazy to cook my own food. Now, before we go any further in today's video, I just want to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, which is the Daily Upside. The Daily Upside is a free, high quality business and finance based newsletter. Visit the link in the description of the video to learn more. Now, if you look at a lot of news articles out there in today's world, it can feel a little bit scary. There's a lot of fear mongering, a lot of articles that seem like the only point of the article is just to get you to click on something. Now, the good news is that with the Daily Upside, there's a lot of collective insights without the fear mongering that we do see in the news of today's world. The Daily Upside is a free business and investing newsletter service that over 350,000 people are signed up to, and I recently signed up myself as well. It was founded by a team of financial professionals with the intention of providing clarity and context on the events shaping the world of business. Every weekday, they deliver a morning brief followed by more detailed stories that are shaping the business world. It's becoming something that I generally read every single morning, as it's fun, full of information, and it's not too dumbed down. They go beyond basic headlines and provide real analysis on the most important news events that are happening of the day. For example, this recent story about Shopify talking about how they want to split its stock is a cool little article that I never would have known was happening if I wasn't subscribed to their newsletter. The Daily Upside is totally free to sign up, and they send you one information-filled email every single morning. As somebody who looks to stay on top of the news to create videos like the one you're watching now, I can't recommend it enough. Sign up using the link in the description of the video. The second biggest mistake that I made in my early 20s, and this is something I kind of corrected along the way, and once again, guys, a lot of these mistakes I made, I kind of over time as I got older. I'm in my early 30s right now. I actually turned 31 this year. A lot of these mistakes I kind of corrected over time. So the second mistake was not investing in the stock market. And once again, this is something I kind of started doing towards the end of my 20s. It was about 2019 when I first started investing into the stock market with Wealthsimple. I created a RoboAdvisor account and I started investing. And here's a snapshot of my actual account from about the last 3 years of investing. And look at how much money I've actually grown in my account just for 3 years of investing. So not investing in the stock market obviously was a huge mistake and is a big mistake I see a lot of young people make. I would do anything to go back to my early 20s, and even if it was just putting away like $100 a month, put it into the stock market, it would make a significant difference in my financial world. Once again, it's not the biggest, it's not the biggest deal, but if I was to recommend anybody who's young, anybody who's, just getting started out, download an app, get an investing app like Wealthsimple Trade or something like that, and just put like $100 or $50 a paycheck away, get the ball rolling, see for yourself how investing can change your lives. And then by the time you hit my age, like the age of 30, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else. So, not investing in the stock market and not taking advantage of that compound interest and your money basically are growing while you sleep is definitely one of the biggest mistakes I made in my early 20s. But the good news is I did correct it, and you know what? It's never too late to get started. So investing and not using the stock market to my advantage is definitely a big mistake I made. Moving on to mistake number 3 inside today's video is going to be an interesting one, and this is one that it's kind of interesting because like when I was younger, I first started entering a workplace. I worked at a grocery store. I made minimum wage when I was, I think, 19 years old, and minimum wage at the time of doing that in Canada, Ontario, was about $10 an hour, I believe. So when I first got in the workforce, I made $10 an hour working overnights at a grocery store. So that's how I started. And one of the big mistakes I made when I was kind of younger was not kind of shooting for something better. I stayed at the same job. I did do some side hustles and some things, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes I made, is instead of finding something and sticking with it and like shooting for it and growing with it, I kind of did a bunch of different things. Now, the good news about this is it allowed me to see kind of what I want in life, and I definitely grew as a person, and it also like taught me a lot of different things because I've always wanted to own my own business, hence, why I do this YouTube channel. But one of the big things I should have probably done was find a job or find some field, maybe even go to school, if that was the right thing for me at the time, and just kind of pursue something to kind of move up a little bit to make a little bit more income as time went on, because I really did sit at that low minimum wage for quite a few years. It wasn't until I'd say about my mid 20s or so where I kind of found something, like I found a side gig that I kind of enjoyed that was kind of doing okay. But then a couple years later, I did find some new things, but it did take me a little while to get going to get that income up. And now looking back, I make a lot more money. I still don't make a ton of money, but I definitely make a lot more money. And it is true, the saying goes, as you get older, your income does rise. But one of the big things I would do is I would have pursued a job that definitely paid more in my younger years, so I could use that extra income to invest and save more money, and kind of, you could see how that would very much benefit me, especially when you're younger and you have more ambition, you have more energy, you have more free time. I find it's easier to do those type of jobs. So that's definitely one thing I wish I would have did. But at the end of the day, I definitely learned a lot by trying a bunch of different things, and I got a better idea of what I wanted in life. So all these different mistakes I made, even though they're not the best outcome, you always do learn a few things by making these mistakes. Moving on to number 4, the fourth mistake I made was not building any credit or using credit cards appropriately. I thankfully never got into credit cards. I never got into loans or anything like that. I did get trouble when I was in my early 20s with a phone bill that I didn't end up paying. I basically got a phone that I couldn't afford. It was like about $100 a month bill. This was back when I wasn't making a lot of money, and I was not obviously good with my spending habits and whatnot, so I definitely shouldn't have gotten that phone. But basically what happened is I didn't pay the phone for a year, so I got racked up a phone bill that was like about $1,000. That was probably the worst thing I ever did in terms of getting into debt. But the bad news was that, I didn't do anything like pursue credit cards and just learn how to manage the debt, because, I didn't build any credit or nothing like that. So now, I'm in my early 30s. I'm just kind of getting that process started. And, it's not the worst thing in the world for sure, but it definitely kind of sent me back a little bit, because one of the goals me and my girlfriend had for this year was to kind of get into buying a house and stuff like that. And we kind of have to kind of push it back a little bit just because we have to build our credit a little bit and get that going. The good news is there's tons of information online, and because I'm good with my money, it actually we kind of built our credit pretty quickly and things are going pretty smoothly. But definitely it's one of those things I wish I would have learned to do when I was younger, because there is some benefits for having a good credit rating or being more responsible with credit or loans that you can use to kind of help your situation in terms of when you need them. So definitely something I didn't do. Probably not the biggest mistake I made, but definitely something to think about if you're looking to maybe buy a house in the future, get a vehicle or different things like that. And the fifth and final mistake that I made in terms of my financial mistakes I made in my early 20s is going to be not budgeting. That's pretty much the essential of when it comes to finance, is budgeting and saving money. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much money you you make at the end of the day if you don't know how to budget your income, because you're just going to spend. And this is especially true as you get older, and inflation goes up and your lifestyle kind of gets better. It's easier to creep in these different things that you didn't have before, which kind of all that extra income you make or something like that can kind of take that. And if you're not careful, you can develop some bad habits that even if you save up a lot of money, maybe you aggressively spend it and make some stupid purchases, and well, now you're back to where you started. So making a budget and just kind of being aware of where your money going is probably the most important thing you can do. And it starts with, sitting down, making a spreadsheet, or just even with a pen and notepad and a piece of paper, print out your bank statements and just look at where your money is going. Look at your food bills, look at your grocery bills, look at your job, how much money is coming in, look at a car payment or anything like that, look at how much you pay for your rent or your mortgage or anything like that. And those are some of the things you're going to have to take, and you're going to basically put all the money you make at the top, take all your expenses, and then subtract it from the money you make and see how much money you have left over. And then look at each category and be like, you know what? Maybe I'm spending too much on my Starbucks every single day when I go to the coffee shop. Maybe I'm spending too much on gas. Maybe, our monthly car payment is too high. Maybe we need to find a place that's a little bit cheaper to rent. Maybe we need to, learn how to save more on our grocery bill. Different things like that can definitely make a big difference. And these are the things you're never going to know if you don't make a budget. And the big key to making a budget is to stick with it. Check it on a regular basis to make sure you're following it, because it can be really easy to make a budget. You're doing okay for a couple months, and then you stop kind of paying attention, and then that's where those, you just take out your debit card, you use the debit machine, you use the tap machine to buy things here and there, and you're not realizing how much those little purchases add up. So definitely make a budget, check your expenses, and make it a habit to maybe once every 1 month, or depending on how aggressive you want to do with this, or every couple months, check and make sure you're kind of sticking with that budget. And that's going to obviously that's really the essential of, good financial health, is making a budget and saving money. That's probably the most important thing. So when it comes to all these different money mistakes I made in my early 20s, I learned a lot. And even though I made these mistakes, I want you guys to know that it's okay to make mistakes, because that's how you learn. That's how you get better. I wouldn't have gotten better if I didn't learn. For example, if I wasn't put in a position where I made a low income job and I had to survive, maybe I wouldn't have learned how to save my money and how to budget my money. If I wasn't put in a position, where I couldn't do those things, I wouldn't be to where I am today. So it's always important to kind of take your mistakes and understand that they're valuable learning experiences. And the most important thing at the end of the day when it comes to finances or anything across your life is to always learn and constantly grow. Educate yourself and look for personal improvement. That's going to be the biggest thing. And for me, that was the biggest thing. In my early stages of life, I wasn't really the smartest person. I'm not the most intelligent. I'm not the most dedicated. These are just things that over time, with personal development and constantly improving upon myself, I've been able to kind of catch up to people, or even get ahead of people, just because of my willingness to always learn new things. So, even if you're not the best with your finances or your money or whatever it is, you guys can always learn to be better. And that's probably the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to get from this video. And as you guys have seen, I've obviously grown a lot and gotten to a better place in my life. So I definitely know that you guys can too. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section like usual. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up, and feel free to share your biggest money mistake you made in your early 20s, providing that you're past that point in your life. Feel free to drop it in the comment section. It'd be cool to hear what you guys have to say. So take care. Hope you guys have yourself a good weekend, and I'll see you guys later.